Today you will be receiving a class from one of my favorite professional dog trainers. You've seen her on my channel many times, Bethany Preud'homme. She's going to be going over how to deal and work with dogs that may be showing some fear issues. So let's go ahead and get started.
So we're gonna do some meet and greets with some rescue dogs and some dogs that are here for training because they have issues with people, either fear, aggression, anxiety, nerves. So I'm gonna kind of explain how I want you to greet them first, and then we'll bring the dogs out and actually do it. This is not a rule for every single fearful dog. This is just what works for these guys. So make sure you're always willing to modify your training plan for the dog in front of you. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna bring the dogs down. And what I'm gonna have you do is I'm gonna turn your body perpendicular with the dog. So we're not gonna be facing them, we're not gonna be bending over. And you're gonna kind of kneel down on one knee and just kind of get crouched down with the dogs like that. And we're gonna let the dogs approach you. I'm gonna give you a treat. You can kind of have it out in your hand. If they eat it, you're just gonna restock with your other hand, put it, and allow them. So you're not even gonna try to pet them. You're not gonna talk to them. You're just turning your body sideways, having your hand out with the food. If they come and they take it, fantastic, restock and ignore them again. If the dogs are comfortable with that and they take a few treats, then we're gonna start doing treat and retreat. So I'm gonna get the dog to move away, and that way you're not standing up and scaring the dog. So what I'm gonna have you do is kind of kneel down a little bit. The dog's gonna come up and take the treat, and you're gonna walk away. Kneel down again, the dog's gonna come up and take the treat, you're gonna walk away. The difference between the dog coming and snagging the food and then them backing away and being scared, this way we're walking away and the dog is not just dining and dashing. We don't want that. So again, we're just gonna kind of kneel down, give them the food, walk away. We're still staying perpendicular. We don't wanna be bending over the dog. That's intimidating and can make them more nervous. Again, step one, kneel down. Put your hand out, the dog's gonna come take the food, you restock, let the dog come take the food, restock. I'm gonna say, okay, I'm gonna take the dog away to reset them. Now you're gonna stand up, put your hand out, dog's gonna eat the food, we're gonna walk away. Put our hand out, dog's gonna eat the food, we're gonna walk away. We want the dog following you, but we're not putting any kind of spatial pressure on the dog. If the dog doesn't want to take the food, because some dogs aren't brave enough to come and take it from your hand, then as you're down on the ground like this, you're just gonna kind of toss it. Put it back in your hand, just kind of toss it. Again, you're not looking at the dog, you're not talking to the dog. Treat, toss it. Treat, toss it. Same thing for the treat and retreat. You're just gonna drop the treat and walk away. Drop the treat and walk away. So depending on how brave the dogs are, we're gonna try those. And then we may bring the dogs down. They might be way over threshold and they may not take food at all. That's fine. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pass you the leash and you're just gonna go and walk with them. And then once the dog is kind of following you and isn't running for the hills, then we're gonna go back to this step of you've got the dog on leash, now you're gonna try tossing the food. And then because you have the dog, again, toss a couple times, you can try to get them to eat out of hand. And then because you're gonna be holding the leash, you're just gonna kind of turn away from the dog, walk up, and you can kneel down again, offer another treat, get up. So we're gonna still do that treat and retreat as well. So we'll bring the dogs out, see if they will take food from us. If not, then we'll just kind of push them over the threshold and go from there.
My question was, are dogs born with a fear factor inside them, or is it something that they develop over time just from being around humans and other things around in their environment?
So that's a great question. That kind of goes back to nature versus nurture. And yes, they're both important. So there was a study done with foxes, and they were fur foxes, and they were trying to get friendly foxes because it's a lot easier to handle them. They're not trying to bite you and they're trying to run away. So they started breeding these foxes for being friendly, and they would breed the friendly ones with the friendly ones. And then to do the opposite, they bred the aggressive ones with the aggressive ones. And they kept doing it and doing it and doing it. So they had their aggressive foxes and they had their friendly foxes. To test if it's nature versus nurture, they switched. Like the first day that they were born, they took one friendly pup, or kit, I think it is, from the friendly litter, and they put it with the aggressive mom with aggressive puppies, or kits. And they took one aggressive one and they switched the two puppies. The friendly one, even though it was raised with the aggressive mom with the aggressive siblings, still was friendly. The aggressive one, although it was raised with the friendly mom and the friendly litter mates, still ended up being aggressive. So genetics definitely matter, but with that being said, you can make a genetically friendly dog fearful and aggressive. You see it all the time. Dogs that go to the dog park, they get attacked and now they're fear reactive, and they learn very quickly that the best defense is a good offense. So now they're going out of their way to start things, where if they never had that bad experience, they would never have that behavior, but that behavior, maybe it happened during a critical socialization period, and so it's going to have a larger impact. That can affect the dog. There's other dogs that just are completely rock solid, and maybe that same event would happen to that dog, and it's not as sensitive, so it doesn't care, or maybe at a different time when it's not during a fear period, and you may not see a response. You see dogs, oh yeah, my dog gets beat up at the dog park all the time, it's not a big deal, like he still loves it, and then you get one dog that gets snapped at one time, they're like, oh my god, and their whole world falls apart. So yes, genetics do matter, but so does socialization, and I can't stress enough, those first 13 weeks are super, super important. Socialize your dog, make sure they're having good experiences, but genetics also matter. If I go to see a puppy and mom and dad are super nervous, I'm less likely to get a puppy from that litter. And we've got a rescue dog that has had a litter at the shelter. She was too terrified to raise her puppies, so the rescue took the puppies. They were bottle raised and everything, and you'll see genetics are super, super important. They came to me about 2 months ago when they were already a year old, and when you see them with their mom, even though they had any interactions basically, because they took them away as soon as they were born because she wasn't taking care of them. All right, this is Mimi. She is a 3-year-old border collie. She is available for adoption through Helping Herders Rescue. We've got our first volunteer, so I'm going to bring her up. Good. So treat, and then you retreat. So then you're going to walk away. Good. So treat, and then retreat. You can move back. So I just want to get the dog following. So I'm basically just making sure that she's not going to run away. Good. So she's not really showing any hesitation, so I'm going to pass the leash to you, and you're just going to walk her. Good. Give her a treat. So anytime she has a loose leash and she's kind of following you, you can give her a treat. Perfect. So remember, she's following you, so you just pull. I'm going to switch out. I don't know why she's limping. You want to grab somebody else? She's limping. Again, I don't want to overwhelm the dog. I want, just like when dogs smell, it's rude to just run up in their face. It's rude. Us as primates, we like to hug, we like to bend over, we like to make eye contact. For dogs, reaching over is a threat. Eye contact is a threat. Straight on is a threat. So we're showing the dog meeting this way that we are not a threat. We're a good resource, good things come from us, and by walking away, we're taking off any kind of pressure. Once we've done that, I do want to show the dog that sometimes people are rude, because not every person is going to meet the dog like this, right? They're not always going to have food. Sometimes you're walking, they go, what a cool dog, and they just keep going. So I do need to prepare my dog for those rude greetings, because they do happen, right? Just because somebody runs up doesn't mean I get to pull out my gun and shoot them, right? That's not an appropriate reaction. I can go, excuse me, and I can push. Nobody's going to call the cops on me for that, but I can't overdo it, right? And that's the same thing with dogs. Just because the dog is rude and runs up into your face doesn't mean that they get to pull a gun and kill the other dog or leave punctures. This is Cloud. She is a 1-year-old cattle dog mix. She's also available through Helping Herders Rescue. She's a little bit more shy than the first dog. You can look at her body language. You can see her tail is straight down. Her ears are up. She's very aware of everything that's going on. So let's give somebody some treats, and let's have somebody start. Do you have some treats? So see how her weight is being held back? She came and she sniffed, but you see how she keeps kind of rocking back where the first dog sniffed and stayed there. So again, this is a good example. Remember, we talked about our equipment. So her favorite person is leaving, and if you saw, she threw a little fit there. If I had the wrong equipment, she could slip her collar, and now she learns that throwing a little fit gets her out of stressful situations. So if you notice, I didn't talk to her, I didn't go, it's okay, and try to calm her down. I just let her kind of work through it on her own. She realized that it doesn't work, so I can kind of help by coming up to the person. So again, we're not going to force feed them, so if she doesn't want the food, I can always test. So if it's me or the food or the person. So if she'll take food from me, nope. So if she won't take it from him, I know that it's stress from him. If she won't take it from me either the dog's not hungry, the food isn't good enough, or just the environment by itself, she's going to be over threshold. So we're not going to use food. So go ahead and just stick that in your pocket. So I'm going to kind of demonstrate what to do to start. So I'm just going to walk with her. Then as you stop, you're going to slide your hand down on the leash. Just do a couple little pets and then walk. So a little stop, a little bit of stress, and then release. Stop, a little bit of stress, release. A little bit of stress, release. And if you notice, I'm not bending over her, but I am still kind of bending over her. Again, we're pushing her over threshold. I'm just doing a little bit of pets and then I'm walking. And most people, when they pet, they're petting on top of the head, so that's what I'm doing. She's trying to get her muzzle off. It's fit properly. Again, make sure equipment is good so she can't get it off. Not a big deal. Pet, release. So as long as she's tolerating the petting, then I release that tension right away and I keep walking. Okay, so I'm going to have you do that. If she were to try to bite you, you're just gonna pretend like it's not happening, right? She can't bite you, she has a muzzle on. So if I bent down and she nipped at me or whatever, I would just pet. If I go like this and she nips and I back up, she learns, aha, the best way, if you get scared, is to make them more scared of you than you are of them. And that's where you get forward fear aggression. So again, if I were to reach and kind of go slow like this, it's like the spider is like creeping and creeping, creeping. You're like, oh, it gives you more time to get scared. So what we're gonna do, just the band-aid off, pet and walk. Stop, pet, walk. Good. And again, we're just petting her. It's not like we're asking her to jump through ropes or sit her down or anything like that. It's just tolerate a little bit of petting, and they like petting, so that punishment of getting pet turns into a reward pretty quickly. Little stress shake off. Good girl. All right, now you're gonna go ahead and pass her to the next person. Good. And then watch your leash pressure too, right? So as I'm petting, I want to try to relax my leash. If the leash is tight and then I'm petting, I want leash is tight, I pet, it's relaxed. Everything good happens when you just tolerate that petting. Good, perfect. And when you think she's tolerating pretty well, you can see she's following, she's doing her auto sit, she already knows that. You can tell she's not comfortable, but she's not snapping. And you can see she's kind of, oh, that does feel good. Good. Okay, go ahead and pass her to somebody else. So the reason why we do really short walks and then really short pets and then we walk is because the walking releases the stress. So if we just sit there and we pet, then she's like, oh God, like he's still touching me. It gives them enough time to have what I call an oh shit moment. An oh shit moment is, oh gosh, or oh shit, you're looking at me, you're bending over me, this has been longer, I'm freaking out, and sometimes dogs will react. So we want to just, look, nothing bad is going to happen, release that tension. If she were to panic, then we would stay until she relaxes. But it's like, as soon as you tolerate it, you're done. And you can see now she's not going to the end of the leash, she's following him without using a lot of leash pressure. Yeah. Good. And then go ahead and pass her. Again, those transitions are really nice. Again, we're not giving the dog enough time or a chance to really freak out and realize what's going on. And you can see her little paw is up. She's just a little unsure. And that's fine. We're dealing with fear. So you're going to see fearful body language. That's what we're working on. What we want to see is improvement on that. So like initially, anytime we change the person, she's staying farther away, she's kind of avoiding it. And if you watch, after several repetitions, she's not avoiding, she's staying closer, and she starts to offer those sits that she knows how to do. So that's where some dogs might have an oh shit moment. So she laid down, she was sniffing and she kind of laid down, and then you kind of bent over her and you saw just for a second she kind of went, I'm not real sure. And because you guys are new and because, again, this is a dog that has some fear issues, muzzle up the dog. It allows you to have room for error. If the dog doesn't have a muzzle on and then she snaps, nobody wants to get bit. So it's really hard to have volunteers if you're like, oh yeah, you may get bit, this dog is scared, but here, can you go walk him? They're like, no. If I'm sure, look, even if you make a mistake, the dog can't do anything. Worst case scenario, they're gonna punch you with the muzzle. Nothing, this is a rubber muzzle. Nothing's gonna hurt. It's not a big deal, and then we can work through it. The owner or the trainer is scared of mistakes happening, you're not going to reach your optimal goals. The goal is to get the dog to get comfortable, get out of their comfort zone, and to gain confidence. And if you're nervous and the dog is nervous, there's no trust there, there's no confidence. You can't be confident if you're scared the dog's gonna bite you, unless you're crazy. But I don't wanna get bit. Most people don't wanna get bit. So just by having that muzzle, when I know that I can't get bit, my confidence is fine. If I see a dog that wants to bite me, I'm gonna be nervous. Some people can train it out of themselves, but I don't wanna get bit. And so
It's like playful on the grass, it's like good sign, right?
So sometimes it can be a displacement behavior. So you see it a lot, like dog, we'll be training, the dog keeps scratching their neck. You know they don't have fleas, but they keep itching. That can be a stress response. Sniffing the ground, you see it a lot when you're doing dog social. They're like, I don't see a dog, I'm just gonna sniff right here. I don't see you, I'm just sniffing. It's a displacement behavior. So whenever you see a behavior, or you'll see a dog like drinks a lot of water, and you're like, you should be done, they just keep drinking, that can also be a displacement behavior. People do it all the time too. So when the dog is, and you can see she's comfortable enough to sit, she's starting to kind of itch herself on the grass. If everybody's already gone, now we're gonna go ahead and put her away. Some dogs, their normal is for their ears to be up. They're just always on alert, that's their normal. Some dogs are more submissive, their ears are always back, that's their normal. Some dogs carry their tail like a snake all the time, or like a python, that's their normal. What you wanna look for with dogs is changes of behavior. So you need to know what their normal is, and then look for changes. So if the dog's tail is normally like this, and now it goes high, and goes like this, there's a change of behavior. If their ears are back, and now they're forward, there's a change. If the hair on their back was down and now it's up, there's a change. If their mouth was open and panting and now it's closed, there's a change. So you always have to be aware of your surroundings, but you also need to be watching your dog, because a lot of people think that the dog reacted out of nowhere, but they didn't. They didn't catch the quiet, subtle warning signs that the dogs were giving, and because they didn't see those, they only see when the dog actually barks or actually lunges or reacts, and they go, oh, he didn't give me any warnings. He did, he just don't know how to speak dog. So it's really important with your dogs, with client dogs, with any dogs that you're working with, see what their normal is. Have the client walk up and down and just see, how does the dog react to the client? What's the dog's body language with the client? Now, if I take the leash, is there a change? Or if there's a dog that comes, is there a change? But you need to know for that dog what the normal is. Some dogs are easier than others. If you've got a dog with a long tail and ears that are up, it's a lot easier to read those. If you have a dog with a crop job and with no tail, it's a lot harder to read. If you have a dog with their tail is always just low, or their mouth is always panting, it can be harder to read. So try to look for those changes of behavior and kind of get a threshold of what is the dog's normal when they are comfortable. Like I did, will the dog take food from me? If the dog won't take food from me, I can't expect them to take food from a stranger. So I'm going to start with that to begin, and then I can go from there. So his name is Rain. He is also 1 year old. He's also available through Helping Herders. The difference between him and his sister is that he will snap when he gets scared. So again, you can just, to start, look at the body language. You can see he's ready to run back up to where he's comfortable. So tail is straight back, ears are kind of back. You can see he's very alert. You can see the one paw up. Those are all changes of behavior. So before I even start working the dog, look at your dog, right? If they're uncomfortable with me just holding them like this, then sometimes I'll wait until they relax a little bit. Sometimes I'll start working them, because sometimes movement helps. That's the problem with dog training. There's a lot of it depends. Every dog is different. So I'm going to see with myself if he's thinking and he realizes that he knows me. Hi, buddy. What do you think? His favorite people are over there, so you can see he keeps looking. So he'll tolerate my petting. You can see his tail is still straight down. His paw's on the ground, though. Hey. So he'll eat from me. So now we'll see if he will, and you can see he's pretty food motivated. Good job. All right. So he wants it, but he wants his muzzle off. Because I don't trust him to not bite, we're just going to do what we did with the last dog. So I'm going to pass you the leash. So the reason, remember, initially I said to slide your hand down, that's to stop him from popping out in front of you. So when he pops out in front of you and you go to reach for him, again, now I'm bending over, where if I kind of slide my hand down, I can keep my pressure not as strong. So once you commit to the petting, commit. So if I kind of go and then he shies away and I stop, again, I'm teaching him that if you shy away, the hand will stop. I want to just kind of rip out that Band-Aid, I'm just going to reach down and pet him.
What about eye contact with something like this?
Eye contact can be threatening, so you want to try to avoid. I mean, keep an eye, because you don't want to be surprised if they decide to nip you. So hold your leash a little bit shorter. So when I hold the leash like this, right, and now I'm trying to reach for the dog, I'm giving him this much room to dart around. So when I go to reach down to pet him, again, I'm going to slide my hand down, so that way he can't run away from me. Perfect. So again, I don't want him to practice the panicky and the running and the bolting, because it's like if somebody were freaking out, there's a fire, and they're like, ah, they're just running back and forth screaming, sometimes you have to grab them, focus, go down the stairs, push the green button. Okay, and now you're channeling them and giving them something to focus on, and it helps them. But if you let them just keep running and screaming, they're just gonna get themselves more and more worked up and more freaked out. So sometimes you just have to, look, I'm going to pet you, it's not gonna hurt, nothing bad is gonna happen, let's go. Good, and then whenever you're ready, go ahead and pass them to somebody else.
Is it okay to praise them too when you're petting them? Or?
You can. It really just depends on the dog's state of mind. If they're nervous, the talking will do absolutely nothing.
And over time, this usually like works with the dog.
Oh yeah, I see him in 2 weeks. If you guys do this for 2 weeks, you'll see a huge difference. And this is why most of the time for social issues, I recommend our boarding and training program, because I have networks like this where I can get the pets. Most people don't. It's hard to get volunteers. It's like, hey, this dog might snap at you. Can you go walk him? A lot of people don't have the network in order to socialize a dog like that. And with the boarding and training program, oh, great, there's a whole bunch of people. Hey, can you guys pet these dogs? And he got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people petting. And if every day he meets 7 new people, it's gonna go quickly. Depending on the dog, I usually say it takes about 50 to 75 people in order for them to get over it. And they may not like strangers still, but at least they're going to tolerate petting. And that's all I care about. I don't care if you like everybody, you just can't be, I don't want you running for the hills and panicking or trying to bite people. You know, sometimes you have to go to the vet and the vet's going to touch you. I don't want my dog to have a nervous meltdown and poop on themselves and everything. If somebody accidentally pets my dog, I want them okay with that. So that's super interesting and something to see. So he thought, if you look at who's his favorite person, she's got a gray sweatshirt on. So he's like, save me! And then he goes, oh shoot, you're not my mom! And then you see the fear. And that's where a lot of times dogs will react first and then they think second. Like the dog barks at the door and it's like, it's your friend. But meanwhile, they've already nipped him. And then they go, oh shoot, it's that person. Because they're not thinking, they're just reacting. And if you watch the body language, the lip licking, that's a quiet sign of stress. It just, of course, he's getting socialized with a bunch of people. And if you notice, like with the first person, he was really kind of bolting away. And now, again, he's still not comfortable with the petting, but he's much better. He's tolerating it a lot better. So whenever I see something like that, if you saw there, he kind of perked up into the pets. So even if I have more people, I'm going to end on that good note. So this next dog that we're going to bring out is the mom of these 2 pups. So you can see, you'll be able to see the genetics. The mom is older. I think she's 3-ish, 2 or 3. And with her, she has more forward aggression. She's gotten a lot better, but because she didn't start training until she was older, she had already learned that aggression works. So she's more likely to panic and try to bite.
All right, who wants to go first? So our board and trains for socialization issues is mom is out of, or the owner is out of the picture. So if you notice, they're all looking for their favorite person. If the favorite person is going to come and save them, right, and the favorite person will come and feed them and play with them and give them everything, they have less motivation to make friends with new people because they have, why would they, right? They have their mom, there's no real reason to make new friends. So if the owner is out of the picture, then nobody's going to come and save them and they have to deal with it, and then they're gonna start looking at new people for the fun and the food.
Eventually, you want them to be able to be fed by us.
Yeah, and most people have to go into town at some point, right? So the dog at least needs to be comfortable eating when you're not there. If you have to go out of town for 3 days, I would prefer my dogs not to go on a starvation diet and not eat for those 3 days. They need to at least be good with the neighbor, the dog sitter, the people that board the dog. If they don't have anybody that they're comfortable with besides the owners, again, if the dog is at the vet, if you have to go out of town, if somebody has to come over, you want the dog at least to be tolerant of people and to be okay eating from strangers or people you're asking to feed them. So did you see that little nip there? So go ahead and pet her again. So pull your leash, there you go. So relax your leash. When you're petting, loose leash. And that's, again, why we wear muzzles. We want the dog to realize, and again, I'm not giving a big correction for the reactivity, it just doesn't work. We don't need to add more stress onto a dog that's this fearful. If I have a dog that's more forward with their fear, that's barking and lunging and is really trying to go forward, I'll probably cut that back before I teach them that it doesn't work. But if I have a dog that's this scared, I just want it to not work. I don't need to add more stress. The petting is stressful enough. Being with new people is stressful enough. All right, whenever you're ready, go ahead and pass her to good girl. And you can see now she's kind of being more submissive.
I also see her getting very low with her front and back leg.
Yep.
Also, I was fine.
So I don't know if you can see, but she's peeing. So again, that's another sign of her now being submissive. So she's accepting it pretty, like you can see she went from, I'm gonna bite. Okay, it didn't work. Okay, look, now I'm not a threat. Look, I'm nice. Look, my belly's up. Look, I'm peeing. I'm nice, I'm sweet. I don't want any problems now.
And is he good?
For her, it's good. Again, if I'm going to have a dog that's fearful, I would rather have them be fearful submissive than fearful aggressive. They're still fearful. I don't have people biting. I don't have my dog biting people that way. It's a lot easier to build confidence on a dog that's just shy than a dog that's trying to maul people.
And the end result will be completely getting rid of the fearfulness, or?
That's the goal, is to help build. But again, you can see her and the puppies, you can see a lot of those same behaviors. Right. And so you can see the genetics of it, that genetically, and cattle dogs tend to be more nervous, they tend to be bitey, they tend to have aggression. And you, like I said, because we have even two of them, you can really see the traits of when you see mom. They're all basically the same. So that goes back to nature versus nurture. We don't know what her history was. She ended up at the shelter with her very pregnant and had her puppies there. And the other two puppies were bottle fed, raised in a family, you know, spoiled. And you can see they all still have that fear. So even though something bad may have happened to her, we don't know her history, but we know nothing bad happened to those other two puppies and they still have that fear. So that's where you can really see the genetics of it. So I was hoping that we'd have time to do all three because then you can see it. So again, one of her favorite people is leaving, and you can see the, save me, save me, save me, save me. Look, I have no legs, I can't walk anymore. So it's not that the owners are causing the problem a lot of the times, but they don't help, right? And it's not their fault, they're not trying to do anything, but because the dog has such a big attachment with the owners, it's a lot easier to get the owners out of the picture, because then the dogs are a lot more open to meeting new people. Because you can see, she's like, I don't care about you, I want what's over there. Again, you can see, so even though the tail is low, watch how it really tucks when he pets. And you can see the lip licking. Look, and now you can see the little bit of, see her tail kind of lifts up, that's when she's doing that submissive peeing.
And where's the first, like one of the first batches of people that touches her?
A big group like this, yes.
Well, and if you do this every day, how fast do you anticipate?
So again, with her, you can see how strong the genetic portion of it is. So there's no magical fairy dust that you can sprinkle on her and turn into a golden retriever. She's not, right? She's a 3-year-old cattle dog mix that didn't have early socialization, plus has a fear, the genetic fear component to it. So with her, my goal would be for her to get rid of the nipping. She may not like people petting her, but I want her to tolerate it. I don't want the nipping from her. You know, if people walk up and she just rolls over and gets the pets that way, that's fine with me. And then I would be doing other things like agility with her. A lot of times with dogs like this, you'll see a lot of reactive activity like behind barriers. So like at the home where people are coming into their space, you're more likely to see barking, lunging, reacting to look how tough I am, look how tough I am. So if I had a dog like this and she was getting adopted, I would tell people when you have people come over, you go out for a walk together first. I wouldn't have the strangers come into the house. I would have you meet them at the driveway. You pass them the leash with the dog with the muzzle on. They walk her, they pet her, and then you go back into the house together. So I'm gonna show you why we don't just approach the dog. So we all just pet her, right? She was fine with all of us. So the goal is for her to be okay with somebody, see how the tail goes down? But I want her to be okay with that. If somebody walks up into her space and pets, so go ahead, next person go. Her leash gets a little bit tight, so try to keep your leash relaxed. And you can just walk her out of it. Just take a couple steps, perfect. Get her into a sit. Good. Okay, next person.
And that behavior should then kind of find this engage her from.
Yeah, and she wants it off.
Yeah.
Next person, go ahead. Good. Even though we're doing like the sideways, the not making eye contact, the goal is for that to happen. If I'm on a walk and someone's like, oh, can I pet your dog? Usually I say no, but again, if somebody doesn't ask and I'm standing there talking to somebody else and they just reach down and pet, I want my dog okay with that. Again, she may not like it, but she can't be trying to bite when that happens. So we can do the turning sideways, people mean food and everything, but I do want to get to that point where even if she's not comfortable with it, sometimes in life we have to do things that are not comfortable. We get put in situations that aren't comfortable, and I want her to realize that nothing bad is going to happen. You're just getting pet. And again, sometimes with food, the dogs go over threshold because they have high motivation for the food. And then as soon as the food is gone, they go, oh shoot, and they snap and they back up. So I prefer dealing with fear head on first, and then I do food as a cherry on top. So I'll do the walking around like we did, and then after the dog is tolerating, and then I'll kneel down, I'll scratch the dog's belly, I'll give him some food, and that's the extra on top. I don't want the food to be the motivation to go meet new people. I want it to be the, you did so good, you were so brave, here's your bonus on top of that. And that way the dog's never going into a situation for food. It's you are going to get pet, you are dealing with your fear, you did so good, here's a cherry on top. I will sometimes do the food tossing and the coming to get it, but you have to be really careful with that because some dogs are brave for the food, but then once you turn, they're like, oh God, and they react. So just be careful with using food with fear. Any questions about that? But you see how strong the genetics are there?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Not normal to see 3 dogs.
Yep. And again, very different upbringing. We have no idea for the mom, but the puppies were bottle fed, raised in the house with other dogs, and they're still like that. So you can see how strong those genetics are. So when people say, oh, it's all about how you raise them, they haven't been around dogs enough to realize it's really not, because you can do a fantastic job. You can make things better, but you see how strong those genetics are.
I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please let me know what you think about it in the comments below, and tag me at Nate Schomer so I can see the training that you've been doing with your dog at home. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and we'll see you in the next one.